does feel a little bit like you're going to be reading the news.
It does.
You can if you like.
Very professional.
Isn't it? It is very professional. Right.
Look at all these people.
So maybe you guys could just kind of kick it off. I mean, obviously, you know, you kind of cover sort of like some of the same, obviously the same kind of areas on YouTube. What's it been like this year for football on YouTube, do you think? What's been happening? Tell us the news.
There's been loads happening, isn't there, in the last sort of 12 months? We've all got involved in lots of different things. I think the advent of football challenges on YouTube has really gone up a level. Loads of people doing them, becoming a massive part of it.
I think football challenges are the ones at the moment that everyone wants to watch.
Yeah.
I think FIFA's slowly going like that, and football challenges are slowly going up like that.
Why do you think that is, though?
I think more people can relate to it. So you can easily just go into your garden, kick a ball around, and that's what people want to watch. People that, you know, they can do at home.
It's really interesting for me, the juxtaposition of like football challenges, a person in their garden kicking a ball in a bin, to some of the amazing things we've all got to do and be involved in, you know, the Sidemen charity match, the Wembley Cup, etc. And how as amazing as those things are, and hard they are to put together, sometimes kicking a ball in the bin will get more views.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why does that happen? Come on, Hugh.
I don't have a clue. Well, I'd say for starters, it's been incredible the way that we've, as a community, I suppose, been able to, like you said, juxtapose the actual football just in your back garden or on the street to actual stadiums with almost full capacity crowds.
Yeah.
But like you said, I don't think it's actually important that they have to be like organised football matches.
Yeah.
I think people just want fresh football content.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether it's playing, discussing, the challenges, both, you know.
And it's the alternative angle from the traditional approach, isn't it? The older people on TV.
Yeah, it's changing. It really is changing.
I'm a big fan of it. We've all grown up watching it, but things like Gillette Soccer Saturday could be confused as an old age pensioners home sometimes. You've got a lot of 50, 60-year-old guys and they're talking about football, and YouTube's the opposite of that, right?
Every kid wants to be a footballer as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
It shows just how far YouTube has come as a whole. The fact that we are selling out, well, half the Wembley Stadium, and the majority of St Mary's, it just shows how far football videos, like you kicking a ball around in a garden to playing at Wembley with like Pires and all these legends, I think it's just absolutely incredible.
Who saw Theo's goal at Wembley? It's pretty decent, wasn't it?
Not bad.
A bit annoying at the time. Hugh did make a great save against Theo.
That's the shot that wasn't actually shown on the live stream.
Yeah.
Mate, we don't, I mean, if you haven't seen it, Spencer did a highlights video where you can catch that
Hugh
one.
was very adamant he got included, and to be fair, deserved to be. It was a great, great save. Yeah.
I will say actually, you know, I'm not the biggest football fan. I've obviously like been to like the matches and stuff like that, and you start to realise that it's more about kind of you obviously knowing the players. That's where the kind of tie is, and actually having YouTubers who I know better than footballers. It was so exciting to watch, and actually, you know, if it's going to be like 7-4, I'd probably watch more football.
Yeah.
You know, just make the goals bigger.
I mean, one thing I've heard a lot since the Wembley Cup and the Sidemen game, and I think if any of you guys were at either of the game, hopefully you agree, is that, and also we played recently #versus New Haven, it was a similar event, the atmosphere in the crowd is so overwhelmingly positive. Like there's none of the sort of, you get a lot of negativity in football these days, a lot of negative football fans, people want to abuse the other fans, and there's a lot of hostility and ultras. And I just don't think you get that in the YouTube sort of community. And everyone's there sort of cheering football. You know, people might have been supporting my team in that game, but they were happy to see your goal, and vice versa. People that were supporting the Wellow Wanderers were happy to see one of my guys score. It was just about cheering, everyone trying their best and playing
I did think as well, the difference between, say, footballers to us is, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but we're like the same as you, but I see footballers as like these like aliens, giants, you know what I mean? Untouchable.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and we're all like people's mates.
Yeah, definitely. But the crowd at Wembley, at the Wembley Cup, I just couldn't believe it. Like, especially, you know, they had the drums, the England band.
Yeah.
I thought that absolutely made it. And the fire, and it was incredible.
Yeah. Well, Mark, obviously, you spend a lot of time working with the F2 guys.
Sure do.
I mean, that's like, they're obviously very good
Yeah.
at football, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is the like, because when I've obviously worked with the guys as well, and one thing I always say, I think people don't necessarily see, that what makes those guys so great is that we can all go and do football challenges, and we could say, me and Theo could do a video, and I could say, oh, let's try and hit this ball there, and we may or may not get it. What I say with the F2 guys is they'll get it.
They'll get it.
You don't know how long it might take them, but they'll definitely get it, whereas we can't guarantee
The one question they always get as well is how many tries does it take?
Yeah.
Because obviously everybody wants to know, do you get it first time, or does it take 100 goes? is it all editing tricks, stuff like that? Is there CGI? There's no CGI, it's all real. But the thing is with them, they will get it. It just takes, sometimes it takes 1 go, sometimes it takes 10 goes, sometimes it takes 20 goes. But they will always get it in that area.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. They'll always get it in that rough area. And if you keep hitting it into that area, you eventually will get it. And that's the thing with them. So.
And they're perfectionists as well, because sometimes they'll get it and be like, we can do better.
Yeah,
They'll
exactly.
do it again.
That is the way.
Do you ever get frustrated, like, when you're filming something, you think, oh, no, that's fine, just take that one.
Yeah, a lot of the time I'm like, that's fine, let's go with that. Like, everyone's going to love it. And they're like, let's just try one more, let's just go 5 more minutes. If we can't get it in 5 minutes, we'll go with that. They'll go 5 minutes, they'll get another 2, and the second one will be amazing.
Yeah.
And then that's the one that goes out, and that's the one that will go viral. So.
And what about talking about football? Obviously, Hugh, like, you and I both have a similar background. We both came from football channels that we worked with, and other brands, if you like, to then running our own channels. And we both, you've obviously been involved in a lot of the big football games, but we talk about the game a lot as well. How do you think that talking about football and reacting to football is different on YouTube to what it is in the mainstream
I suppose it depends what kind of angle you come from, but like you were saying with the crowds at these games, the YouTube games, football in general I find to be quite tribal. So people will generally pick a side.
Right versus Ozil.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll stick to that for life, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas if you can come from a slightly more neutral point of view and talk to everyone, it's much more inclusive. And again, people, I think, really get in touch with that personality, the fact that you are much like them, as opposed to your regular pundit who is a little bit detached, has probably almost certainly come from the game themselves, so they can't really look from outside the box, or a lot of them struggle to. So we've been able to give a different angle, and yeah, I suppose that's where I'm coming from.
I think there's like, and I get it completely, but I think there's this idea in the mainstream football world where if you haven't played the game at a high level, you're not allowed to talk about it. And I think, of course, those guys have expertise that us who haven't played professionally at the highest level don't have that knowledge necessarily. But I also think it limits them sometimes, and they can't see what everyone else is talking about. And they can't look at the look at the Euros. Every single England fan in the world knew we needed to get Jamie Vardy on the pitch, but Roy Hodgson was the last person to do it, and that's because of his football expertise getting in the way of what the whole nation wanted. And I think at some point, especially as an England manager, you've got to give the people what they want.
I'll compare it to an analogy an old friend told me, which is, can you, as a guy that goes to a restaurant, critique a chef's food? Because if I can sit down and you have an issue with me telling you that your food's no good, then there's a problem. I don't need to be a chef to be able to tell you it tastes amazing or it needs something else. So I'd put it in a similar category, basically.
Another reason I think YouTube's so great, I remember one of the first videos of yours I saw, which I don't know if you want me to bring up or not, but it was when you were really upset about Arsene Wenger's transfer policy, and you basically got very emotional in it. This is a couple of years ago now. But that's what was a great thing about football on YouTube for me, is that you never would see, take someone like Ian Wright, for example, a really vocal Arsenal fan and pundit, you never would see him get into that point. They'd be like, cut, Ian, you can't be like this. But on YouTube, you can show that vulnerability, and people responded to it. Some people are going, bloody hell, Hugh, man up. Some people are saying, I love this.
Some people are saying you're a little bit too obsessed, but truth be told, again, that really represents what a lot of other people were going through at the time. Whether it's specifically about that club or not, I don't think is relevant. Just the fact that there's that pure emotion, that actual connection to the club, and a real love for the game that you can pick up as genuine. And I'd say we're all blessed to have been able to give off some of that energy, and it's been okay for us.
I just realised, you're an Arsenal fan, Mark. We've got 3 Arsenal fans on here as well. I'm outnumbered.
Tough times.
How would you say, because obviously it's quite a flooded market on YouTube, football videos. How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep kind of innovating? How do you find out sort of when, obviously there are a little degree of kind of copycatting can kind of go on, like when does something kind of reach a point and you're like, okay, we need to move on to something else?
I think personally that's not football, that's just general, like YouTube and art, for want of a better word, in general. Like you have to try, I think you have to be internally motivated to do something new and fresh all the time. I think YouTube has a tendency sometimes where something gets popular, everyone wants to do that thing. And I think there's ways of doing that. I think like football challenges, for example, are super popular right now. And I think that's cool that everyone wants to jump on that and do things like that. I think it's more, I don't think that's a problem. I think it's more that what are you doing within the football challenge genre? Are you just doing the exact same thing that YouTuber did? Or are you saying, right, people like this, I'm going to put my spin on it and I'm going to do this? That my desire to put on the Wembley Cup came purely from the fact that football, real life football as everyone calls it, on YouTube was doing so well, and I was like, well, what's the best possible form this could be? It would be us all playing together, which in itself is quite a big job, getting everyone together, but then also getting us an experience we haven't had before. But that was still inspired by the fact that football challenges and football videos, I remember like the Sidemen crossbar challenge, they've got like, how many millions of views has that got? It's like 30, 40 million views. So
I think
it
that
was
video
inspired
itself
by
kicked
that.
off like this whole generation of football videos. I think you can pinpoint, not necessarily pinpoint, but if you look at that video, after that, so many more came out because they saw, obviously, the views, but they saw how much fun if they're having fun filming it, the audience are going to enjoy watching it.
Hello, mate.
So how did you call this?
Late. Hello, everyone.
This is Poet, everyone. I'm sure you're familiar with Poet's antics. Copper 90, centre back at the Wembley Cup ×2.
That was awful, wasn't it?
Well, you're the reason he scored a wonder goal, so you owe him a thank you.
Very harsh.
He could have taken
Very
you down,
harsh.
but he decided not to. What happened there?
I think going
I
back
was
to...
scared. Yeah, he said that his knee was hurting. I felt really bad after the first
Well, you
game.
actually did as well, I remember
I
you
was like,
saying,
I'm so sorry, man. That was not good.
We're talking about, obviously, football on YouTube. You've done some amazing things with Copper 90 over the last few years. What have you seen change in the landscape of football on YouTube since you started?
I think...
more awareness just of what we're doing. Like, there's more of like sort of respect from the people sort of above, for example.
It's the access you're getting. I think Copper 90
the
you're
access
getting...
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like when you get there, there's a certain amount of respect.
There you go. Sorry, you weren't marked up.
Sorry.
Can you hear him now? Hello?
Hello?
There we go.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of respect that you get from individuals that are on television, so to speak, whereas when we started doing it, it was just like, yeah, they're just doing some YouTube thing. Whereas now, I think we can all agree that when we go to like BT, and we sit down with Rio Ferdinand or Gary Lineker or anything like that, there's a huge amount of respect they have for you. So I think that's kind of rewarding because those are the people you grew up watching and like wanted to be like and so on and so forth. So for them to sort of respect you for what you do, it's kind
I
of
can
cool.
remember, because obviously Poet and I worked together for a long time at Copper 90. I can remember when we started, and we'd go and we'd manage to get access with footballers or whomever. We'd get and we'd do some content with them, and the football clubs would find out about it, and they'd ring us up complaining and say, "You shouldn't be allowed to film with this player. This access should be going to Sky Sports only." And then, you know, essentially, because we maybe met the agent of the player or something, we'd be able to sort of subvert the normal process. And we basically get told off, we get slapped on the wrist. If you do this again, we're going to have a go, we're going to tell the Premier League. And it's like, guys, like, because it's all so money focused at the top level. And again, I think that's where YouTube's so good, because most of us are doing this because we love it and we want to just make good content, whereas everything else at the highest level is just all controlled by money. Who has the most, who pays the most, doesn't always get the best content.
Never. And do you know what's so sick as well? It's like, these guys are just human, innit? So like when you watch like, I don't know, Raheem Sterling on TV, like he just glamorizes, oh my God, look at this little Jamaican boy doing bare things, he's sick. But then like, when you meet him, it's just Raheem Sterling, innit? And you have a laugh, and then like, it's sort of, it takes away that sort of fame aspect from these footballers and just makes it more like human, so you can talk to them and you feel a little bit more like, wow, okay, he's a footballer, but he's not too dissimilar to like my older cousin or my next door neighbor, or do you know what I mean? So
and that, I think, is really where the future lies. That connection between your everyday football fan and the players themselves. And I think that we're a perfect intermediary.
Yeah.
Where a lot of what is out there at the moment is beginning to look really tired.
I think especially in some cases, like I remember Raheem Sterling did a video of JJ, and that came from the fact that Raheem is a fan of JJ's videos. So it wasn't like, oh, can I get access to... I think Raheem actually requested to do a video with
That's the
KSI.
thing, I'm getting more and more calls every week from agents, footballers that are wanting to work with us rather than us wanting to work with them. I think that shows the same with Copper 90, the amount of stuff you're doing with footballers, you probably get brands coming to you saying, can you work with
it's
so-and-so?
mad. Like the biggest one still is working with man like David Beckham. I was like, raw, this guy's buff, cuz. He must get bare girls, cuz. Bare friend requests and stuff. But yeah, that was just like, that was a bit surreal. And then that was, again, from Adidas contacting us and saying, yeah, we want to do some stuff with you and Vuj. And I was like, what, with who? And they were like, yeah, Stormzy and Beckham. You're like, what? This is mad. And then it's just sort of like grown from there. So yeah, it's true.
One thing I'd like to ask you, Poet, is and this is obviously relevant to everyone here, but what's your, like, when you started and you were doing your first sort of football presenting and stuff, what would have been the pinnacle then as to where you thought you could go with it, and what would that be now? Because that certainly changed for me when I first started, and I started my YouTube channel. I think, because I love talking about football and doing football things, when I first began, the pinnacle for me would be getting onto Sky Sports or would be getting onto TalkSport or BT Sport or wherever, and that's completely changed for me now because now it's like, you know, you can do it all on YouTube, and more importantly, you own the relationship with your audience, which you don't have when you're just presenting for someone else. So, has that changed for all of you guys? Do you feel like there is no, I want to do YouTube so I can get this and that off of YouTube? You can just do it all here.
I just wanted to get like 50,000 views. That's all I wanted to do, and meet Ian Wright. And then after that, it was like, there's so much more you can do. And I think this is a good thing and a bad thing. On Wednesday, me and Vuj went to Lisbon to interview Cristiano Ronaldo. And it was we were there, and there were some other people in front of us, and it was Cristiano Ronaldo talking. And I looked at Vuj, he looked at me, and I was like, we actually don't care. We genuinely didn't even care that Cristiano Ronaldo was like sitting in front of us, and it's because it's got so much bigger than that. We just keep thinking to ourselves, okay, if we film this content, how sick is it going to be? Like, how much interaction is it going to get? How is everyone going to appreciate it? So now it's like we feel like we have a duty to make sure we make good content so people like it, rather than I want to beat Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Because essentially that's what it kind of felt like, and then me and Vuj just walked out, and then we just
Do you think though that, like, because obviously that you have to tell us how it was, but do you feel like you're getting the Ronaldo and you're getting time with him to do what you want, or is it part of a press thing where he's, because that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very, very different experiences with footballers. I've had a lot of different ones. You know, the plus side, the best side for me was probably when I played FIFA with Juan Mata, and he showed me his phone, and his desktop was a video of mine. His desktop picture on his phone was a screenshot from a video of mine because it was about Real Oviedo. Likewise, and he's a really nice guy. Likewise, Cesar Azpilicueta added me on PlayStation afterwards, asked to play FIFA with him after we left the shoot. No. Conversely, Riyad Mahrez was horrible. Riyad Mahrez, he basically was having a bad day, and he didn't want to be there anymore, even though it's nothing to do with me. Like, we're contractually obliged to be certain places, and he just like, I'm going to go home now. And I'm sort of thinking, I've just driven to Leicester, thanks, mate. And then he was forced to make the video, but he said, like, oh, I'm not going to be very nice in your video, just so you know. So I was like, yeah, he's like, I'm not going to try very hard. And I was like, right, brilliant. So basically, it was a one-way conversation. If you watch the video, you'll see, you know, I decided not to bring it up in the video. I didn't want to throw him under the bus. I'll just do it now instead. But he was basically not trying, and it's a shame because that video, regardless of how he behaved, got loads of views and millions of views. And now, if you watch it, you think Riyad's not a very nice guy. And I've seen him make videos of other people, and I know on his day, I mean, he did one of the F2, and he looked great. Yeah, he was amazing. On his day, he's probably a super nice bloke. I just got unlucky that I caught him on the wrong day. But I think it's important for footballers to be aware of what they're getting involved in, because they could do something as a little bit of a Sky Sports section. It might go on before a game. X amount of people see it. But a video of the F2 or me or any of these guys could get millions and millions of views. And if they're not aware of that, they need to be told, because otherwise they don't look the best they can be.
I think obviously with like any person that's really in the public eye, you've got to be a little bit, you know, give them a little bit of slack, just because they're going to have pictures all the time, interviews all the time. They are going to have those moments, probably early in the morning, where they just think, you know what, I just want 2 minutes to myself.
Yeah, of course.
But, of course, like you said, they have to be aware that all eyes are really on you right now, especially if you're delving into this new world of digital, which has changed so much, that where you might think that you're all suited and booted and looking good for Sky Sports interview, no one's even watching, or at least they're turning on literally 30 seconds before the game starts, just for the action itself.
The things you can't expect, like I always say about footballers, you can't expect them to be everything. Like, these guys are exceptionally good at football. What they do is something that pretty much no one in this room can do, which maybe there's some good footballers out there, but perform at a very high level under pressure, right? You can't expect them to be amazing on camera. You can't expect them to be super aware of everything that's going on in the world.
But you can expect them to have manners. Like,
they should have manners, but where that event went wrong was the agent, I think, not briefing the player properly and saying, no, just so you know, I know you're annoyed, but just raise it for a few minutes, because otherwise you're going to look like an idiot. Yeah. So that's the agents, it's the manager's responsibility.
It definitely gave, I speak from a neutral point of view here, where obviously I've got love for you, I've got love for Riyad Mahrez for what he did last season. I saw the video and it rubbed me up the wrong way, and I thought, why has he been like this?
So the thing of me and Vuj, we just teased him the whole time.
That was the funny thing, because you were on that shoot as well. And so basically, from pure chance, the Copenhagen guys had their slot, my slot was after that. And then he was buzzing it in your video, because he was thinking, I'm leaving after this. So he was nice, and then as he got up, literally tried to walk out, and they were like, you've got to do one more thing. And then he was like, now I'm going to change. So it's like, that's why I was annoyed, because he could be good. He was good, but we shouldn't talk about too much about Mahrez. It's just I think it's just a lesson to be learned from both sides. Like, we get these amazing opportunities to meet players, and that's fantastic. And is always, for me, one half fanboy, one half YouTube creator. Like, I think it's great you get to meet them, but then you also think about what the content is. And I think that has to go both ways. Like, they have to be aware what they're getting into, because it can go two ways if they're not on top of their game.
If they're just honest though, like, because sometimes I meet them, I'm just like, are you having a good day? Like, how's today? And they're like, oh, I'm tired. I'm like, well, don't be afraid to be tired on camera. Like, if you're angry, like if you had an argument with your missus, or the baby kept you up all night, or you didn't have cornflakes, like, I don't mind. Like, be angry. That's how I am. If I'm upset when I'm doing a video, I say to Copper, I'm going to be upset today. I don't want to put on an act, because at the end of the day, we're making content for people. I don't want people to think like, you're happy every day. No one is happy every day. That's an impossible thing to do. Not even Jesus. I'm sure there was times where he was like, look, mate, get out of this room. I'm really upset. Do you know what I mean? So, look, man, just be upset. I'm saying to them, be upset. But like at the same time, don't take it out on me. Because if I'm the reason why you're upset, then by all means, take it out on me. But if I'm not, don't come into this room, like you said, you've contracted to do this, and then take it out on all of these people that have actually got nothing to do with the situation. Do you know what I mean?
You know, one of the things you touched on there reminds me of one of the first things you said to me when we started working together, was that you don't want to be a presenter, you want to be a personality. Do you remember? Yeah. And that's a big difference in that, because sometimes when you're a presenter, you get given a script, and you're very little, remarkably, like, you might even not even understand how little control you have. I remember a thing I did recently, which was I stepped in to host the West Ham kit launch this year, which is amazing as a West Ham fan, great opportunity to do an official club event like that. But I got massively thrown under the bus, because what I didn't know is that that event was doomed from day one, because they had told a lot of the West Ham fans we were making this big announcement, i.e. we're going to sign someone and you're going to announce it, which they never did. They also got this freestyle rapper guy who was not popular, basically, and it was basically seen to be quite an amateur event, but then people decided to target me for that, whereas all I'm doing is actually filling in for someone who dropped out the night before, go down, I'm not getting paid or anything, I'm just doing it for my love of the club, reading a script I have zero say on, and then everyone's associating these choices with me, and it's like, no, that's a presenter right there. You turn up, you read it, and you get in trouble if it doesn't work out. Whereas if you're a personality, like you say, if someone's giving you a script, you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling that, I'm not going to do that today, I'm going to do it my way. As long as you're good at it, as long as you're honest and it's good content, then that's a big difference, right?
I think that's when the transition happened with us at Copper 90. At the start, it was very, very like, you meet someone, oh my God, hello, welcome to this wonderful show, and it's rubbish, it's raining, it's awful, and you're like, I just don't want to do that no more, because you're just lying to people. Do you know what I mean? It's like me saying, everyone right now, go outside, take your tops off, it is boiling hot. It's not. It's raining. I don't want to lie to people. I just think, I think the audience that watches YouTube is a lot more intelligent than people give them credit for. So if I'm interviewing someone and they're having a bad day, I'm going to say to them, you look like you're having a bad day, mate. It could be Cristiano Ronaldo, it could be my dad, it could be Mahrez. I'm not really bothered. I just think that honesty is what people will respect. And even at the end of the day, the footballer, he'll respect you more. There's times when Raheem Sterling was the first. At the end, halfway through, I was like, why are you so shy? You play in front of 60,000 people every single week, and you're sitting there like a little dolphin. Just and before you know it, next time I see him, he's walking at me all confident, and there's that sort of relationship you build with the players off honesty, rather than the whole, hello, Raheem Sterling, you're amazing, love your hair, love the way you play football, oh, God. It's just, no. Yeah. I just don't want to do that, not me.
Mark, you've obviously, like, F2 probably are the standout guys in the community that have done the most collaborations with massive football talent. And obviously, people may or may not know, Mark's always there as well, and you're part of that team. What's been your biggest sort of pinch yourself football moment?
So I'm a massive Arsenal fan, so the one for me was when we filmed with Ozil. I actually met him 2 times before, so we kind of had like a little, oh, you're right, how's it going? But then when we actually got to film a proper video of him, I was like, wow, this guy is unreal. And he was the nicest guy as well, and he knew who the boys were. We filmed a really funny video, I don't know if you saw it, where he like assisted them with like everyday jobs, and it was the funniest thing. And the funniest thing was his agent was right behind the camera, and the whole way through the video, the second we stopped filming, I'd press stop, all of them would burst out laughing, and we'd like watch it back and we'd be creasing out here. It's the funniest thing. But the one for me was when we got to spend the day with Pele. Not only did we just get to film with him, we got like a whole day with him, and that I was starstruck. When he walked through the door, I just still picture that moment when he walked in. I was just like, wow. That's the greatest ever.
Let's think about this. So you've done all these things. You've hung out with Surreal. You've spent the day with Pele, and this is just to name a few, right? And how long have you been doing YouTube? If you don't mind telling us how old you are, because I think it's very aspirational and inspirational for people out there maybe that want to be getting to YouTube. Like, talk about the journey you've been on.
Yeah, so I'm 19 now. I've had a YouTube channel for I think 5 years. Wait, he's gone.
Cheers, Paul. Nice to see you.
I've been. And I've been with F2 for 4 years. So I was doing YouTube for about a year and a half before that, and then I asked to interview them for my channel. Went along, we made a video together, and they just kind of kept me on from there on, sort of doing like part-time stuff on. I had weekends obviously to myself off school, and I had Wednesdays as well off. So I used to do Wednesdays and weekends working for them. And then when I left school, I had uni offers. I could have gone into another job. I could have got an apprenticeship, but they offered me a full-time job, and I thought it was the right decision to go with them. And so far it's paid off.
Pretty good,
Yeah, it's been doing.
So I think it's quite interesting because, like, you and I, for example, are quite different. Like, slightly older. The Tash makes me look even older. But you went down the route of, like, because a lot of YouTube, I guess it's almost like this side of the table versus that side of the table. We all have a situation where we came out of school, we went and did jobs, whether it's in the industry or not in the industry, and we had to sort of get used to a career that wasn't necessarily the careers we have now. And that maybe, speaking for myself, was part of what inspired me to make YouTube work, because I'd done jobs that I didn't like, and I'd been like, actually, I've done them, I don't really want to do that for the rest of my life, so I'm going to make something else happen. But then conversely, and I always say, everyone on YouTube that's made anything of themselves has risked something at some point, and there's loads of different things you might have risked. It might be money, it might be, in our case, quitting jobs. You know, Wizzy and I both left jobs that we were doing well at to pursue our own individual goals. Whereas in your situation, it might be making the decision not to go to university. Mm-hmm. It might be putting that time in. You know, Mark was a guy who was spending most of his time at school, mid-school, and it applies to a lot of Theo as well. Theo's actually doing both, but you're still at university.
Yeah, still.
You made the decision to spend that tiny bit of spare time you get when you're at school to work on the weekends, to work on your Wednesdays, and it's obviously stood you in very good stead.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, my grades kind of reflected that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. And I'm sitting here as someone that did go through, obviously, and do university and get a degree. I'm not saying that one side's better than the other. I think at the point you are in your life, I didn't have the opportunity you had at 18.
You've got to make a decision on the spot. You've got to realise what you could get out of this or what you would get out of uni. Like, for me, obviously, uni's a great opportunity for certain things. Obviously, you're doing it now, Theo, so it gives you a lot of opportunities. But for me, I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to work in video production, whether it was YouTube or TV. TV was my goal, but now I don't ever see myself working in TV. It just doesn't seem like a goal, an ambition for me anymore. I just want to keep making videos and keep growing channels wherever I'm working, whether it's football or other industries or whatever. I just want to build the biggest channels I can and just do really well. So that's why I decided to go with F2. And we're doing really well at the moment.
Your main challenge is going to be sustaining the level of sick things you get to do. You've already done so many quality things.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's only so long they can go on for, right?
Yeah, but it's amazing. And Theo, what are your current thoughts? You know, you're in your second year university?
Second year, so it's probably not like good to tell everyone, but for me personally, uni is below YouTube at the moment. I've had so many, like each month it's, right, I'll drop out now, and I just keep pushing through, and I have to work with, like, I have an advisor there who literally every month is, come on Theo, you can get through month by month by month, and slowly, it's going quite fast, but slowly I'm trying to get through it, because I do want, like, I like the idea of coming out the other end with a degree and YouTube. I do like the idea, it's just hard. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, of course. And it's a you know, YouTube in itself is a full-time job. When you've got uni to go alongside that, it's very challenging. Yeah. Just like Mark was, you could be having a lot more fun at uni. You could be having a lot more, going out probably a lot more than you are. You could be, you know, just partying. Instead, you're spending a lot of your spare time.
Well, most weekends I'm travelling, like, up and down the country doing stuff. But luckily, next year, we have like a placement year, third year. I've managed to speak to them and I'll get to just do YouTube full time.
So you just got to see this year out.
That's what basically it. See this year out, get a two. You can get like a 2-year degree or something like that, and see how it goes. Because I was going to drop out last year, but I thought, come on, I'm going to try and do it, like stick in with it. Yeah. I like to do it. Hopefully I can hopefully I can inspire people to stay in uni. Yeah. Definitely, it's the best case scenario. Yeah.
Do you want to do some questions from the floor?
Fantastic. Yeah. Anyone got any questions, guys?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to nick your mic back. Can you just talk into one of their chests when you answer? Thanks. Right, who's got some questions? Hi, could you stand up if that's all right?
Spencer, what do you think on Jamie Carragher at Wembley Cup?
Second time, that's
okay, Jamie Carragher. Let's talk about Jamie Carragher.
Straight in.
So we've got people who are on his team, people who are against him. So here's what I'll say, a bit of context, right? Jamie Carragher, I think, was the only legend that played 90 minutes at Wembley Cup, which is, I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but these guys aren't necessarily as fit as they used to be. He was happy to commit to that. He also, I said to him in the change room, Poet will vouch me on this, we did a little talk before, and I basically said to all our legends on our team, that you guys have played, we had a legend that had won a World Cup and 2 that had won 2 Champions Leagues, right? Unbelievable scenes. I said, what you might not understand is this is our World Cup, this is our Champions League, and if you can help us win this game, you will be like our heroes the rest of our lives, because this is the pinnacle of our football career. And I think more than, and not to take away from Perez and Kluivert, but more than anyone else, Carragher took that and he was like, right, I'm going to help you guys win this game. Now, he did that the way that he helped Liverpool win a lot of games, which is being a little bit naughty. But what I'll say is that there was a referee and he didn't get a card. So,
Which is a
Well,
it's a joke. I'm sorry.
Sorry, let me talk into your chest.
Yeah, go
Quite
for
nice.
Theo, Theo was
Who
against-
saw Joe Weller's challenge on Carragher though?
Yeah, this is the thing. Joe was being naughty as well, Theo. Joe was giving it a little
I
bit.
gave nothing though.
No, you didn't. You got very unlucky.
No, but to be fair, I have a lot of respect to Carragher because he could have easily like saying, "Oh, who are you guys?" But he worked so hard. He was really, really good. And like a lot of people, you wouldn't pick it up on camera, but he every 5 minutes you come up to you and like near like your little you'd say some brutal stuff to you.
The thing is, it's hard, right? If you're Robert Perez or you're JJ Okocha, these unbelievable, skillful players, like I can speak personally, trying to tackle JJ Okocha is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in football, right? This guy was a joke. The ball stuck to his feet. It doesn't matter if you're 35, 25 or 55. If you've got that level of ball control and skill, you're going to maintain that. Jamie Carragher was a player who didn't have a lot of pace in his prime, so now he's lost that. For him to be able to stand against someone like Theo is probably deceptively good at football. You might not realise he's actually a very talented footballer because he's also a YouTuber. In prime age and sprint speed and pace, it's a lose-lose situation with someone like Jamie Carragher. He comes down with this massive reputation, and Theo can just mug him off, and suddenly he was like, what have I come down this for? So he did what he had to do, and yeah, he probably did cross the line a little bit, but I don't know if Joe's in the room right now, but if he's honest, he'll tell you that Joe had a game plan that day, which was to try and get in Carragher's head.
No, we discussed it.
And he was tweeting him before and stuff, and Carragher just sort of said, you're not going to get in my head, but you can go in my pocket.
Yeah.
Oh, the shots. Incredible.
If you could bring back any
So if you can bring back any player from retirement,
who would it be? And
well,
why?
we can all speak for this. I'll personally say, also have to bring back from the dead, unfortunately, but Bobby Moore, West Ham legend, would love to see him. We'd sort our form out, I think, at the Olympic Stadium.
It'd have to be Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
The striker Arsenal have been craving for
We've got
many a
another
year.
Arsenal fan. I just realised there's
Yeah.
4 Arsenal
Zidane.
fans.
Right now.
Take it
Zidane.
over.
If imagine, say, I don't know if there's going to be a Wembley Cup next year, but imagine next year we have Thierry Henry, Zidane. It just goes.
They're not in FIFA. They've got to get in FIFA.
Yeah, no. EA needs to get on it.
Like, my thing with Zidane is I think it's such a shame the way he ended his career.
Ended on
That
a red
last
card.
game, getting a red card and his team lose the World Cup as a result.
Yeah.
But obviously unbelievable. Mark, who would you go?
It's got to be R9, someone like that.
Ronaldo.
Just
Original
unbelievable
Ronaldo.
player, yeah.
Who, I think it's such a shame that this generation call him the Fat Ronaldo.
He's the real Ronaldo. Well, I
He's
think
the original Ronaldo.
I mean, yeah, a bit harsh. You've got a thyroid problem.
again his career ended not very well again, didn't it? Like Zidane's, it just went.
Because he
pinnacle, and then
played
started
on.
getting injuries, then it just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Quite sad.
So
I
you're
would
saying
bring
Zidane-
back Paul Pogba.
Been missing for a minute.
Question. Just stand up for me, please.
Who should be the next England manager?
Ooh.
You.
Wizzy?
I mean, who really wants the job? Personally, I don't think Gareth Southgate is the man, but he's probably going to get it. I quite like the idea, even though he didn't do that well in Spain, I think he's built up a reputation where he's in touch with the players enough and knowledgeable enough about the game and successful enough in his own career to go for Gary Neville.
Gary Neville.
But then, can't really think of any other reasonable
Could
options,
you ever
to
see
be honest.
Wenger? I know it's not going to happen, but
No, I don't.
if he doesn't have a budget, he just has players to nurture.
My thing with Wenger is, this year could end up being quite a good year for Arsenal, maybe. If it does he then bow out and go, I finished on a high? Or does he go, right, that's another 25 years locked in?
You want him
He
gone?
needs to go.
You
He
want
needs
him
to go.
gone?
So you think he should be England manager?
No,
I would like.
no,
Do you know
no,
what?
no.
Do you know I think would be a good England manager?
Talking to the
Pochettino.
mic.
I think Pochettino will be a good England manager.
Pochettino. Yeah, but this is a big question. I know it's not really a popular one with Arsenal fans, but is Tottenham to England a step down?
No, not at all.
It's national-
It's a
national
massive
team.
step up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I,
think
I
it's-
would
it's a
say
lot-
as well that the thing that England have got that's a real issue right now is that they don't really have an identity. Will Pochettino bring an attacking identity? Because I don't believe that Tottenham even have an attacking identity right now. They're very good defensively. They run their socks off. Going forward, not actually as good.
But you
Only 15 goals this season so far.
I say Wenger.
Liverpool 30.
Wenger.
Give the managerial job to the Twitter polls.
Liverpool.
Just let the,
Well,
let the fans
Yeah,
decide.
Tottenham
I actually
defensively,
tweeted
that's what I'm
something.
saying. Pochettino, I think he's got that. We've got that already. If anything, we haven't conceded a goal in the World Cup qualifiers yet. Go on, get close.
Don't feel too aroused. We haven't conceded goals against Scotland, Andorra, some next team from somewhere. The teams are not good enough.
What?
We were talking about this before we came out, actually. Obviously, great result for England last night, but our group is one of the easiest groups, again, by far. If you compare it to the other qualification groups, some of which have got like Belgium's and Spain's and whatever in the same group, I think that we're often misled into thinking we're better than we are because our qualification group is so much easier than it is. So you said Mark's is saying quite interesting. I tweeted this out at the time when before Big Sam got appointed. It's a little bit unordinary, but how amazing would it be if the country got to decide the England manager, just like we got to decide the Prime Minister?
Really?
It can't go any worse than what's been happening. We're not going to appoint
You're leaving these big
Harambe.
decisions in the hands of the country, and look where it's getting us. I'm not being funny or anything, but the public are not. They're not trustworthy.
I agree, but I also think that it can't go any worse than what the FA are doing. The FA, Greg Dyke comes out and makes this big statement and says, we're going to win the World Cup in 2020, 2022, whatever. We're going to start going with this youth football from playing lots of possession football, lots of passing, and then we're going to appoint Big Sam. Like, there's no commitment there because they didn't work out for them last tournament. They threw everything out and said, right, we just need to get any manager in. That ended up going wrong. I don't see how everyone in this room, if we all got together and thought about who the best England manager would be, can do any worse than the FA.
I don't think it would hurt if FA just tweet out a poll, just to see what.
If they don't go with the results though, then I don't know.
You'd end up with Boatface. That's who you'd get.
I think the voting with Boatface would be a close second, but I think generally the wisdom of the masses would come through. I think I don't know. I think long term Eddie Howe is an option. But I think it's way too soon for his career. So I'd probably, as much as the underwhelming, give it to Gareth Southgate and just see what happens. I just don't know who else there is. I don't think Gary Neville's done enough. I think Gareth Southgate's done a lot more in his career than Gary Neville has, managerial-wise.
I mean, yeah, it's a debate that could go on forever.
This is what happens in the FA headquarters. This is why they make such dodgy decisions, because no one knows the right answer.
People are really scared to bite the bullet and take the plunge.
And we talk about this lack of English talent coming through because of various reasons, foreign imports, etc. But there's a lack of English coaching talent.
Do you know why?
It's the biggest problem.
Have you seen the prices?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're like charging £4,000. Incredible. Where it's like 300 quid the rest around Europe.
It's like £400.
Well, it's more expensive to become a coach in England than it is to become a coach elsewhere.
We're talking like literally
Why can't
10
they
times as expensive as it
subsidise
is in
that?
Germany.
They've got to subsidise that, right? They've got to make it cheaper for people to get
They
into
want to
it.
make more money, don't they? That's what they're really interested in.
This is the problem we're talking about in football versus YouTube and football in general. You know, #United, we make our decisions based on football, not money.
Oh, that little plug there.
Check it out.
All right, I think we've got time for maybe one last question. Who's got a question? Can you stand up for me, please?
Do you think international football's dying a death, or is it just this country that aren't very interested anymore?
Well, no, you could say it's dying, but if you look at like South America, they are fervently passionate about their stuff. You've only got to look at Alexis Sanchez. That's close to home enough. He desperately wants to play, even though he's ripped his leg in half.
But that's because the club football in South America is so poor, whereas like in Europe and other places, club football is really, really, really good. And international football, you take a look at the past Italian sides, they're much better than the current Italian side. Just loads of, like, back in the day, like World Cup 98, do you know how much good sides there were? Now you've got blooming Iceland, buy one, get one free, knocking England out.
I think a lot of that is because of the globalisation of football, and you've got countries like Iceland who are able to actually instigate like really top-class coaching regimes from the very beginning, which didn't exist 20, 30 years ago. But I also think that it's about money again. I think there's a lot more money in Champions League and football that is more easily monetised. I think international football doesn't even have sponsors on the shirts. It's harder for people to make money from it, therefore it's less appetising. And I think what has to take a massive bit of the blame for why international football is falling apart is FIFA, when they're doing these things like giving the World Cup to Qatar, who have terrible human rights issues, Russia, lots of homophobia, etc., things that should not be championed in football. If the leaders of our game are embracing this sort of behaviour, then obviously it's going to have an effect on how excited people are about the tournaments, because they shouldn't be happening in the first place. So I think that's got to take a large part of the blame for it, personally.
Are we all in agreement there? All right, well, I think that's about time to wrap it up. Can we have a big round of applause for all of our panellists? Thank you so much, guys. Next up, we're going to have Zerka, Fixter and Miniminter, so don't go anywhere. We'll be on about like 10, 15 minutes or so.